Raider Nation, good morning. It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. And coming up on today's show, I'm giving you guys a brand new 53-man roster projection after the Silver and Black second preseason game up against the 49ers. This is a show that I like to do after every single big-time Raiders game, after every single thing that happens in the offseason. That way you're up to date on what exactly I think that this roster could look like for Pete Carroll and John Spytek. Now, the way that I do this is I start at the quarterbacks and I go all the way through the offense. I'll go all the way through the defense. And the numbers that you're going to see next to the players is me literally counting out that 53-man. I am a man that likes a deal. I say that often on this show. And if we get to 393 more subs, which will get us to 198K, and if we get there before the Raiders' final preseason game against the Cardinals, I'm going to be giving away a Raiders jersey of your choosing during that live stream. We will go live 2 hours early. It's going to be a late night. If you're not already subscribed, make sure you click that big old red button underneath this video that says subscribe. All right, so here's how we're going to do this. We're going to start at the quarterback room, and there's not going to be any surprises when it comes to QB. We got three of them right now: Geno Smith, Aidan O'Connell, Cam Miller. And this team is going to end up keeping all three of these quarterbacks. There's probably going to be some rumors around potentially moving on from AOC. I don't think it's going to come from anybody that is a legitimate source. Now, sure, maybe the Raiders end up doing it. I would be surprised, but ultimately, I would like for this team to be able to keep a good quarterback too, and I still think that that's what Aidan is, despite, Pete Carroll had some interesting comments about Aidan yesterday. If you didn't hear his press conference, kind of said that he thought that Aidan, slowed him down a little bit from time to time, and he even said in his press conference that he wanted Aidan O'Connell to run at one point, and that's just not going to happen. But to me, this team ends up keeping three quarterbacks: Cam Miller, AOC, and Geno Smith. Let's now go to the running back room, where this definitely gets a little bit more interesting, and super fired up to watch Jeanty run with some physicality. 7 carries, 33 yards, 4.7 yards per carry, a nice little touchdown, had a nice stiff arm. That's what you want to be able to see, and if it's up to me, he's going to be your bell cow. He's going to be the guy that I want touching the ball aplenty. Now, I will say I am surprised by how much this regime likes Zamir White, and I want to be able to give Zeus some credit because I think he deserves some credit for getting into better shape. He has slimmed down a little bit, hanging on to the football. Him and Mostert are going to end up making this squad. Where I'm interested to see what ends up happening is going to be around Chris Collier, Sincere McCormick, Dylan Lowby, and ultimately, I'm going to continue to go with the running back that I've just been going with here, and I'm going to go with Collier. Collier, I thought, was better on special teams than Lowby. I thought he was also better than special teams than Sincere McCormick. And I just think about what the overall skill set is of our running backs already. McCormick, Lowby, special teams guys. McCormick, probably a between the tackles runner. Collier, though, does offer a little bit more juice, and I'm just so confident in Jeanty, and I know that they have a lot of experience with Mostert. For that reason, I'm going to keep Chris Collier, I'm going to keep Zamir White, and I'm going to keep 4 running backs on this squad. Let's go to the wide receiver room now here for the Silver and Black, and Jakobi Meyers is the wide receiver 1, and I'll just say this. Had a source reach out to me over the weekend. The video that you guys are going to get bright and early tomorrow is going to be on I'll be very transparent, some concerning things that I heard in regards to Jakobi Meyers, so make sure you're on the lookout for that one. Tre Tucker, Thornton Jr., they're going to end up making this squad. When you look at the bottom receivers down there, I really do believe that guys like Alex Bachman, Tommy Millott, Jack Besh, Philip Dorsett, Colin Johnson are really battling it out there for those final roster spots. And whether this team keeps 5 wide receivers, whether this team ends up keeping 6 wide receivers, Tommy Millott is the one player on this team, and I shouldn't say he's the one player. Him and Cody Lindenberg at linebacker are the 2 players where I'm sitting here going, I actually don't know if they're a lock to make this squad. So the pinned comment on today's show is going to be this: will every Raiders rookie from the 2025 NFL Draft make this 53-man? Give me a Y for yes. Type your N for no. Let me know those answers down below. My answer coming up here in just a moment. I am going to sit up here and I'm going to say yes. And the reason why I'm going to go with yes is because despite Millott not being ready to play a receiver and also Cody Lindenberg being a little bit of a coin flip, I do believe that this that Pete Carroll John Spytek believe in building in the future. And when you take certain players, when you take certain prospects, you got to be willing to build a little bit for the future. And based on some of the comments that Pete has made in terms of what the Raiders have done and maybe not done this offseason, he seems very confident in his coaching staff, and he seems very confident in this regime overall. For that reason, I am going to keep Millott, and he's going to be number 13. I'm also going to keep Alex Bachman. And to me, he is the much more ready wide receiver than Mailata is right now. And just because of, I'll be transparent again, there are some concerns around Jakobi Meyers. I've been somebody that has been saying pay Jakobi over and over and over again. And I do wonder if some of these concerns pop up this week, could Alex Bachman get more run just because of the Raiders knowing what could potentially happen? But bottom line, these are going to be the 6 wide receivers that I end up keeping on this roster. Let's go to the tight end room next here. And watching Brock Bowers play was fun. Michael Mayer is the second best, or he's the best tight end too, I think, in the league. Ian Thomas there at tight end 3. He has not looked good over the past few training camp practices. I don't even think he played all that well in the preseason game against the 49ers. Had another really bad drop. Albert O at least showed that he was able to block. Carter Runyon had himself a hell of a game. Would have had a better game if Aidan didn't miss a wide-open touchdown throw to him. And Quadir Ishmael and Justin Shorter are also 2 players that are kind of like battling it out with this wide receiver tight end hybrid role. I will continuously go with Ian Thomas here on my 53-man just because he is a good blocker. He is somebody who in years past has shown that he has a little bit of red zone ability. But one thing that I'll definitely be looking for in that final third preseason game, a lot of times teams won't be playing a Brock Bowers or Michael Mayer. I anticipate that they're going to play Ian Thomas. And quite frankly, I hope that they do, because I've been a little bit disappointed from what I've seen from him. I'm still going to put him on the roster, but at this point, if I were to count out the top 53 players, he's in that bottom 5, bottom 10 of you might not end up making this squad. The offensive line coming up next year for the Silver and Black. And left tackle, left guard, center, right guard, right tackle. To me, this is just about set in stone for what the Raiders are going to be able to do. They also drafted Caleb Rogers, Charles Grant. Now, those players, again, are still project players. And I don't know exactly what the hell's going on with Alex Kappa. He just hasn't been healthy. But I'll just keep on saying this. I'm not going to keep Thayer Munford on this team. I hold this Raiders offensive line to too high of a quality. I just saw the PFF grade for Munford. I don't know what PFF was looking at in that Raiders 49ers game, because I saw Munford had like a 61 overall PFF grade. I saw Aidan O'Connell had an 82 overall PFF grade. So if anybody gives me any PFF BS, I'm sorry, I'm not going to look at it, because I don't know who the hell was the Italian evaluator in that Raiders 49ers preseason game. But that's also why you can't just sit up here and just trust PFF every time. I'm going to keep 8 offensive linemen, and I'll be very transparent. I don't like that I'm keeping only 8 offensive linemen. Maybe the Raiders should keep a Dalton Wagner. Maybe the Raiders should end up keeping, again, Laki Tassi. He's the Raiders International Pathway Program player, and he looked really good in the running game this past week. He's going to end up making the practice squad. He'll be that 17th player overall. But maybe the Raiders want to keep, a Will Putnam. Maybe the Raiders want to keep something else for that 9 offensive linemen, because we don't have enough depth with Grant and Rogers just not really looking the part right now. But at the end of the day, I just can't put Thayer Munford on this team anymore. I've done it too many times, and I'm not going to do it anymore. Coming up next here on the show, we're going to get into the Raiders' 53-man roster projection on the defensive side of the football. And I said it last week. I went back. I watched it over the weekend. I understand that the Raiders are going with a very vanilla defense. They're going, honestly, with a very vanilla offense as well. But I have way more concerns on the defensive side of the football than I do on the offensive side of the football. For that reason, I ended up keeping many, many more players on the defensive side. If you do not know, our show sponsor today was Panda Sups, and I always got to give these guys a shout-out. They've been a part of this family for a long, long time, and if you need to save some money and you're trying to get into better shape, if you go to pandasups.com, use code Raiders, you're going to be able to save 20% off. If you want to know what products I use, please don't ever be afraid to hit me up. I love their premium protein, their pre-workout I use if I'm trying to get a gym session before work. The recovery BCAAs I take every single day, especially in the summer to stay hydrated. Fat burners, my wife loves them. I love them as well when I'm trying to stay thin. They're superfoods. They're grains. Sometimes your body needs an oil change as well. Get cleaned out. Nootropics to stay awake. Sleep aid if you have a hard time falling asleep. And also, not only do they have Panda gear, they got new premium whey protein isolate. I'm talking 110, 120 calories per scoop, 25 grams of sugar, and the flavors are unbelievable. Every day is a cheat day, it feels like, with Panda Sups. Whether you need some brownie, toasted graham, peanut butter cookie, I'm telling y'all right now, it is absolutely, positively unbelievable. Go to pandasups.com. Use code Raiders for 20% off, and if you spend over $125, you're going to get a free prize inside. or you're going to get free creatine. I don't know which one Merbod, my guy for Panda, is going to hook you up with. But I do know this. If you spend over $100 and you live in the U.S., you're going to get free shipping. If you spend over $125, you're either going to get a free prize inside or free creatine and free shipping. If you end up getting creatine and that was the free surprise inside, I'm sorry for ruining it for you. Did I say 25 grams of sugar? Yeah, not 25 grams of sugar. I'm going to lose my sponsorship if I say that. 25 grams of protein, 0 grams of added sugar. Some of y'all are like, Mitch, I'm going to be honest, I don't think that's healthy at all. Panda Subs is legit. I love those guys. All right, let's go to the defensive side of the football. Shout out to Chugs. Defensive end, Max Crosby, he was playing like this game was a regular season game. I liked what I saw out of Charles Snowden. Tyree Wilson, can we just put him at defensive tackle already? He was a freaking dog in that game this past week. Malcolm Kuntz is the one that I'm a little bit worried about. He's just been struggling, and I think that we can be honest with ourselves. He hasn't looked the part in the mock game. He didn't look the part necessarily in the 2 preseason games. He's still obviously going to make this team after signing that 1-year, $12 million deal. But the 5 defensive ends, the 5 edges that I'm going to go with, I'm going to put Tonka Hemingway here, but it's because he is just listed as an edge. He is listed as a defensive end for the Las Vegas Raiders. When you see the way that they're using him, they're using Tonka and Tyree very similarly, where, again, they're going sometimes 5-man fronts, sometimes the 4-man front. When they go 4-man front, that's where I think you're starting to see like Tonka play a little bit more defensive tackle. But then there's other times where him and Tyree are lined up so far on the outside. They're mixing and matching. But we need more help on the defensive side of the football. Let's go to defensive tackle. And one player, I'll be transparent. I have been putting Leki Fotu in all of my 53-mans. He's not going to be in this one. And he's not going to be in this one because he hasn't been able to get out on the field. Luckily, this past week, he was able to get out of that walking boot. But my problem with Leki Fotu is when you're just that big of a human being and you've been in a walking boot, I don't think that you're going to be in football shape. And if you're not going to be in football shape, that's going to be a problem. They love what they've seen in Thomas Booker. Adam Butler and Thomas Booker are the top 2 defensive tackles on this team, not named Tyree Wilson. John Olalu played a lot better. J.J. Pegues, if there's one player that I'm really kicking myself in the you-know-what for in my winners and losers segment, it's not putting J.J. Pegues as a winner. He is somebody, when I went back and I watched the tape, he played a lot better than what I originally saw. And sometimes, when there's so many things going on in the game, you don't always pick up everything. J.J. Pegues should have been a winner on my show that I did yesterday. I want to be very clear on that. Zach Carter, I thought, again, showing interior depth. And what the Raiders are going to do this season is they're going to go, all right, we might not have a Christian Wilkins, but if we're having fresh legs in there, continuously rotating in guys over and over and over again, which is what the Philadelphia Eagles have done. I get it. They've had a little bit more top-heavy talent, but they're keeping fresh legs in there over and over and over again. And that's what this Patrick Graham defense is going to try to do, especially with the secondary that we have, especially with us running cover 3. Let's look at the linebacker room now for the Las Vegas Raiders. And the top 4 linebackers are Jermaine Pratt, Landon Roberts, Devin White, and Jamal Adams. Pete Carroll doesn't seem to be too concerned about our inability to cover at the linebacker position. I will still continuously say I am concerned about it. I don't know why Amari Gaynor isn't getting opportunities. I kind of wish that he would. He seems like the odd man out. Michael Barrett, he made a few really honestly nice plays in that game against the Niners, but I don't think he's going to end up making this squad. Also, Matt Jones, he's been a liability in coverage. I saw somebody call him Luke Masterson 2.0, and I don't know. It's kind of a knock on my dog Masterson, but also I do kind of see the resemblance. Jalen Smith, he's been getting a lot of work. Tommy Eichenberg, PFF said Eichenberg had a great game. Again, I don't know what PFF is looking at. To me, the opportunities that Eichenberg had, he had some good plays, he had some bad plays. But do they end up keeping Cody Lindenberg, a player they drafted in the 7th round? A lot of unknowns. To me, the 4 players that you do know are going to make this team: Jamal, Jermaine, Devin, and Landon. Now, if you guys did not know, I can't even believe this. The week's finally here. This Friday, August 22nd, I'm going to be at Desert Shark Tucson. If you don't know where that is, it's Tucson, Arizona. I will be there from 12 to 3 p.m. And then afterwards, I was told that we're going to be getting drinks from 4 to 5 p.m. at Culinary Dropout. It's literally right next door, from what I understand, from Desert Shark. We got a lot of giveaways. We got a lot of prizes. I've heard up to 250 Raiders fans are going to be there. It's going to be a hell of a time. And if you bleed silver and black and you plan on being around this area, I hope that you show up. I hope that you pull up. I would love to be able to shake some hands. I would love to be able to put some faces to names. And, again, I I enjoy these meetups probably just as much as y'all because we spend so much time together. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a hell of a time. Let's go to the 53-man projection then at the linebacker position, and there's no changes in here for me. I'm still going to keep these 6 players, and it's really more based off of I know that this team wants Tommy Eichenberg to take that next step, and they value his football mind. And you could see in the game where he gave up that touchdown run to Jeff Wilson Jr., he read it right. He just missed the tackle. He got ran over. Cody Lindenberg, same thing. They like his instincts, and I do wonder if 2 players like Eichenberg, Lindenberg, who both of these guys, again, the Raiders like their instincts. They like what they see in them. Could they learn behind 4 veterans that have been in the NFL for some time, get better and better and better, and then next season, because Roberts, White, Pratt, and Adams are all on one-year deals, are you then ready to hand the keys over to the car to maybe an Eichenberg or Lindenberg and let them battle it out for a potential starting spot? Let's go to the cornerback room here because I will say the moment y'all turn this show on, the number 1 position I'm guessing y'all were looking at is the cornerback room. And Eric Stokes, Darian Porter, especially Porter, really, really struggled against the 49ers. And this has been a secondary that has raised a lot of concerns. And you know, speaking of secondary, it's pretty wild. Xavier Howard just signed with the Indianapolis Colts. Talk about an old name down memory lane. But somebody been saying, like, I want the Raiders to go out, and I want them to add another corner. Sam Webb, not going to make this squad. John Humphrey, not going to make this squad. J.T. Woods was somebody getting run with the ones a few weeks ago. That's not happening anymore, and he's going to be somebody that doesn't make this squad. Greedy Vance was a really tough name to hold off this list, but to me, we have 5 corners that this team trusts right now. And when I say trust, Darnay Holmes is a bit of a question mark to me. Based on some of the people that I talked to with the Raiders, they like Darnay. And then there's the other side where they're like, well, he's playing in the 4th quarter of a preseason game. So where exactly does he meet? Kai Blue Kelly's been getting starts over Darian Porter, and there's a part of me that wonders if the season started today, if we were going up against the New England Patriots, would Kai Blue Kelly and Eric Stokes be the top 2 starters? DeCamerion Richardson needs to get better because I know how good of an athlete he is, but you still need to see him progress in the right direction. These are the 5 corners I'm going to keep, and I almost just wanted to leave one of these spots open because to me, we got to add somebody in the secondary. Let's go to the safety room here. The last time I did this show, I did not have Terrell Edmunds, which I really wanted to be able to sit back, look at, and decide what I was going to do. Jeremy Chin, he was probably the best player on defense, not named Max Crosby, in that game game on Saturday. Had a beautiful interception. Isaiah Paul-Amal, I think is a good safety. I'll keep saying he's a number 3 for me. But because of the way that this is kind of shaken out, I had to keep 4 safeties. Just because, again, you look at the cornerback numbers, and then if you look at the special teams numbers overall, I have to keep 4. So the 4 players that I'm keeping, these are the 2 easy ones. Pete said that he likes what he saw in Terrell Edmunds. We're going to keep Terrell Edmunds. Chris Smith got some opportunities this past week. I thought he played pretty well. If Thomas Harper was healthy, I would keep Thomas Harper over Chris Smith. But because he hasn't been able to get out there on the practice field, I think the Raiders have really been testing out Smith, and Smith played well. He played well against the 49ers. Struggled a little bit against Seattle, but this is more about what they did this past week. Now, some of y'all are going to look at Lonnie Johnson Jr., and Johnson is going to be somebody that I think likely gets placed on IR the closer and closer we get to roster cut-down day, which I probably should have said at the beginning of the show. Roster cut-down day is August 26th. It is a Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. We will be here on this channel breaking down the exact moment when those roster moves end up coming in. I will be live on this channel, that I promise you. But because of this, we could place him on IR. He's going to miss the first 4 weeks of the season. If he's out after that, then he would have to get placed on season-ending IR, which I don't think is the Raiders' plan for Johnson. But I did want to note, I have him making the team. It's just he's not going to make the 53-man because he's going to get placed on IR. Hopefully that makes sense. But if there's one thing that I've been saying, and I've been saying it for a long time, and I know that a lot of people have been coming after me this whole weekend because, Mitch, it's a preseason game. I hear you loud and clear, but I need people also to understand what I do for a living. I make videos around the Raiders. I make content around the Raiders. I get paid to give my opinion, and I've been saying since the moment the offseason started, the moment that Super Bowl ended, the moment the Raiders season ended, in my opinion, this has been a secondary that has needed some help. And I want the Raiders to go out and find somebody, whether it's a corner, whether it's a free safety. We at least got to try. Like, to me, you at least got to try to go out and sign a Justin Simmons. You at least got to try to go out and get a Stephon Gilmore. you got to go out and maybe try to even get a Rasul Douglas. I don't know who it's got to be. But if you can confidently look at me and say, I'm not concerned with this secondary, I have concerns about this secondary. If you agree, hit that like button. All right, let's go to the final position here real quick at special teams. And Daniel Carlson, A.J. Cole. Daniel Carlson, 4 for 4 this past week, ends up making the squad on a prove-it-year deal. Jacob Moyer at long snapper. And then special teams, again, is a little bit of a mix and match between some different players. Carlson, A.J. Cole, Moyer is how this thing ends up rounding out. I also did keep Collier because he offers you special teams ability. Not that Laube doesn't, and not that McCormick doesn't. But remember, I also kept Alex Bachman. So to me, Bachman is an easy way where you're also getting special teams help and at wide receiver. I think that role is more important than whatever the Laube role would be and whatever the role that Sincere McCormick would end up playing. So because of that, I went with Chris Collier at running back. So just kind of weighing out the options. But I always do this because I need to know what you guys have to say. Who did I leave off my list? There's a lot of names that I'm sure I probably left off, but this is your opportunity to let me know. Did I leave off an offensive lineman? Did I leave off a tight end, a wide receiver? For me, it was tough to leave off Thomas Harper. It was tough to leave off Aleki Fotu. It was tough to leave off a Greedy Vance. Those were some of the names where I was sitting there going, it's still hard for me to leave off, honestly, Amari Gaynor, because I think that's the other linebacker that this team kind of needs, a linebacker that can cover. I do want to give some shout-outs out to our Noti gang from yesterday. These people were the first 5 people to comment on my Raiders winners and losers video. Rock and Jock, Taino, Bay Raider RG, Roger Chandlers, and Michael Hatcher. Though, Michael, get a picture, my dog. Appreciate each and every one of y'all tuning in, and I will be getting you guys another video a little bit later on. The Raiders practice today at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, 8:30 Pacific Time. Once that practice is over, you'll get another video here on the Raiders Report, so make sure your notifications are on.